tonight, road contractors in Ghana will have to wait indefinitely to get paid for contract executed, as government says it is unsure when it will clear debts owed them.
The total indebtedness in the ministry as of December 2024 is 21,260,270 pesos. That is what is on record at us now.
We have details as the roads minister says the country is about to pay 103 billion for no road constructed.
Somebody flew a drone over the alignment and contracted. The contractor got to the site and realized that there were galamsey pits under the cocoa trees. So at the close of 2024, outstanding commitment in the road sector representing unexecuted contracts segments were estimated at 103 billion.
We have more as he blames the MPP government of not doing due diligence in the awarding of contracts.
Somebody flew a drone over the alignment and contracted. The contractor got to the site and realized that there were galamsey pits under the cocoa trees. So the variation is coming as a result of some people failing to do due diligence and packaging and doing proper costing. That is what has resulted into this.
Well, we have all angles covered here, and also speak to road contractors to get what they make of this issue from government. Here on Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Samuel Kojo. Grace, stay on. Well, tonight, if you are a road contractor waiting for payment for work done for government of Ghana, you will have to wait indefinitely to get those monies, as government says it is unsure when exactly it will clear debts owed you. According to the road minister, governs Kwame Agbeja, the actual MPP government left a staggering debt of more than 21 billion cedis in Ghana's road sector.
The total indebtedness in the ministry as of December 2024 is 21,260,270 pesos. That is what is on record at us now. Mr. Speaker, I must put on record.
Can you take the figures again?
21,260,270 cedis and 52 pesos. The breakdown of this debt is as follows. Consolidated fund projects, 15,339,887,294 cedis and 92 pesos. Ghana Road Fund projects, 5,662,772,975 cedis and 60 pesos. These pending debts cover payment certificate from 2018 to 2024. It is worth noting that these debts do not include interest accrued to delayed payment. And Mr. Speaker, on record, the interest on delayed payment can go as high as 50% or even 100% on some of the projects. In November 2019, 1.2 billion was borrowed from syndicated banks to finance the road maintenance. However, the Ghana Road Fund still owe contractors bills dating as far back as 2018, some as low as 2,000 Ghana cedis. At the close of 2024, outstanding commitment in the road sector representing unexecuted contract segments were estimated at 103 billion and 500 million, exclusive of adjustments for variations on contracts which are yet to be agreed. The sector is further challenged by numerous contracts awarded with insufficient financial planning, often lacking the mandatory commencement warrant as stipulated by the Public Financial Management Act.
Well, let me bring in Kwaku Asante, who has been in Parliament for us the whole day. Of course, he is our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent. Let's bring in more details to this particular story. Kwaku, first, does the debt include the Cocoa Roads? Because there were also issues about, the Cocoa Road sector. There was a question there that someone was asking.
So you will recall that yesterday when President John Dramani Mahama did address the nation in Parliament, he also spoke about how much money the government is saddled with in terms of debt in the cocoa sector routes. This 21 billion Ghana cedi we are talking about is not inclusive of the general cocoa roads project, and that is a debt of its own that the president, I should say, actually spoke about when he addressed the nation. Listen to how Kwame Agboja answered that question in Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, that does not include Cocoa Road projects. As you may all be aware, the Ministry of Roads only provide limited supervision of the Cocoa Road project. The debt there is also over 5 billion currently. So if you were to add the Cocoa Road and others, it is quite scary. So Cocoa Road figures are not inclusive of what I've just given out.
Well, Kwaku, did he explain whether the debt he's talking about includes debt the MPP government inherited in 2017 or not?
Well, yes, that was one of the follow-up questions that the Member of Parliament for Bosome Frehun in particular was pushing to get, and trying to make the point that the NDC were seemingly making the claim that this is just debt that have been saddled by the New Patriotic Party for the new NDC government to come and pay the 21 billion Ghana cedi, as well as the over 100 billion in commitments that the roads ministry have to deal with. Kwame Agboja answered this question by trying to compare how much the NDC did leave when they were leaving on the 7th of January 2017 compared to what the MPP have left now. And he sought to make the comparison that the debt as it is now, the huge chunk of it is made up of commitments that were engaged by the erstwhile Akufo-Addo government.
On record, the commitment up to January 2017 was about 17 billion Ghana cedi. And the former minister, our former colleague, Honorable Makwat Atas, stood at the same place and made us aware that as of the time NDC was leaving power in January 2017, the total commitment was 17 billion. That compared to over 105 billion today. So you can see the contrast. Indeed, the debt as of 2017 January was about 3.5 billion. That compared to 21 billion today. You can see the contrast. There's something wrong with the way we contract. This debt is not sustainable. We need to do something as a house as to how we contract. So it is not about blaming any government, but the point is that I'm saying that what we paid, the 2018 is the cut-off date. It means that the debt up to 2018 have been cleared, according to the data. What we are dealing with is 2018 and to this time.
Well, so that's the explanation he gave there. Then he was asked to explain how he intends to pay this debt in the sector. What exactly did he say? Well,
and for so many contractors, this is the question and the answer that is most important to them. When exactly are you paying us? He says he's been given the marching orders by the president to work with the finance minister to raise the money to pay this. But as to when exactly they can pay that, he's not sure. And so as and when they get the money, contractors will be paid. So if you're a contractor, you can't expect a definite date to be paid. This is how the minister answered the question.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very important question. All I will say is...
It's very important indeed.
Yes. As and when government gets more resources, we'll retire this debt and also continue to do what is required by adding on more projects. We are currently building some bypasses on Accra-Kumasi Road. The total contract sum at the time of contracting was 1.9 billion. The contract is still within contract period. We are being asked to do a variation of 1.7 billion on top of the 1.9 billion. The question is, how were we able to do a variation or determine a 1.7 billion variation on a contract that is 1.9 billion? Something must be wrong. In fact, on some of the projects, the variation required is over 100%. So, yes, over 100% on a project that is active within the contractual period. So is it the case that the project was not prepared? In fact, the last time we were speaking, When Honorable Oponkruma read a statement on PPP, my colleague, the former road minister, gave a suggestion that one of the reasons we arrived at that position is because of the rush in getting projects started without proper packaging of the project. On this project, for instance, the understanding is that we were in a hurry to do the bypasses on the Accra-Kumasi road. And instead of doing a proper study, somebody flew a drone over the alignment and contracted. The contractor got to the site and realized that there were galamsey pits under the cocoa trees. So the variation is coming as a result of some people failing to do due diligence and packaging and doing proper costing. That is what has resulted into this. So I hope my colleague who asked the question will know that sometimes it is as a result of negligence in terms of packaging of projects. And I am determined that we shall do whatever it takes to minimize the unnecessary variation on the projects that we undertake going forward.
This is still top story brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Well, let's bring in Joseph Huting. He is former chairman of the Association of Contractors and currently the interim management committee chairman of the same association. Grateful to you, sir, for joining us here. Now, the government says they owe you, but as to when specifically it will be paid, they cannot tell. But as and when they get money, they will. How do you take it as contractors?
Well, let me say good evening to your cherished listeners, and then also thank you for the opportunity. To be honest with you, before I start saying anything, let me say I'm scared. Honestly, I am scared for the industry. I mean, the situation is so alarming. I just cannot imagine how this problem is going to be solved. Because you see, this is a problem that has prevailed over, let me say, some 20 years, if not more. And every year it keeps getting worse. I mean, with every change in government, it keeps getting worse. Because I heard the minister, the current minister, say that yes, they handed over a debt of about 3.5 billion. And now they have come to meet a debt of over 20 billion. You see? But like he said in the last statement that I heard him say, it's number one, the rush to award contracts. Number two, the ill preparation when it comes to, preparing this kind of contract. And so there will always be variation. And then the variation, which is supposed to be around 15%, now sometimes turns out to be over 100% or 100%, which is unreasonable. I mean, no variation should go above 15%. So if it's going close to 100%, then it means that somebody did not do his work. You understand? But unfortunately, we've allowed these things to continue. And then now we as contractors find ourselves in trouble. But of course, if I have to be very honest, will also blame my contractors. Because fine, we want job, but what is the benefit of going for a job that will eventually kill you or destroy your business? Because you are talking about, the minister talking about claims way back in 2018, which have not yet been honored. So if you work and after 7 years, you still haven't been paid, what it means is that money has become useless. I mean, imagine the exchange rate in January 2017 and compare it to exchange rate now. And then you realize that the money is gone. So if you want to borrow money from the bank, it's virtually, whatever you have is even less than what you owe the bank. So how are you going to pay? The result is that the banks will just come in, seize your property, and then that's the end of you. So we ourselves as contractors really need to re-examine the way we chase projects and find out the sources of funding before we even decide to go and tender. But I'm sorry, what I'm saying, I know it's just going through the wind and that'll be the end, because you always get people chasing these projects. And that's why the politicians also keep awarding. Because if they know that nobody is going to chase the project or even bid tender for the project because he knows there's no money there. They wouldn't even bother to advertise these projects.
But I hear people say, well, when government owes you, government will pay.
Well, so if government owes you and it's going to take 10 years for government to pay you, is it worthwhile? You might even die and leave the money. I know of several contractors who died before they were paid. I know a lot of them. They died before they were paid. So what's the use? They died before they were paid. You see, but I think that...
earlier you said you were scared for the industry.
Yeah.
What's your expectation of how this will impact the industry?
No, seriously, look, the industry is actually at a standstill. You see some contractors working and all others, mostly doing this asphalting and all of that. But when you go into the rural areas, most of the jobs, the contractors have abandoned them already. Most of the jobs, the contractors have abandoned them. You see, so it is very important and critical that we hold a serious stakeholders meeting, government, contractors, ministry, and whatever. So we can sit down and discuss and decide and determine how to address this issue. Because it's something that happens every 4 years. At least from the time that we came into civilian rule, I know that almost at the end of every term of a particular government, they leave debts behind. But you see, as the years go by, the debts keep increasing and the commitments keep increasing. You know, so we need to actually, because it's serious.
Okay.
It is very serious. If we are not careful, it will get to a point in time we'll not even get contractors to work.
Okay, stay with me. Let me bring in Hammond K. Labi. He is Vice President, Progressive Contractors. He joins us on the line as well. So I'm grateful to you for joining us here. I mean, if you listen to Mr. Houghton, he makes the point that, look, when the industry is, it looks like the industry is at a standstill. But I'm asking you, what do you think has contributed to where the industry is? How government can be given contract without proper planning, and government will owe you and will tell you that I don't even know when exactly I'm going to pay you.
You see, the Asante government have done something with the minister who was there. No, it wasn't as if monies weren't coming. There were some money that, but they were using all the money to they used it to and pay the contractor anyhow. That was what was happening. And they know that it's against the law to award contract when you actually don't have the funding. But they were doing it. It's against the law, and they did it. And when you don't have the funding, but you have to award contract, then they awarded so much contract that actually have a problem. But I'm quite that.
Well, Mr. Labi, I don't know if you're using a hands-free. Kindly take it off and speak to us directly into the phone so we can have a better connection with you. So, Mr. Labi, Hammond is Vice President, Progressive Contractors, and we also have Joseph Houghton, former chairman, and currently the interim management committee chairman of the Association of Road Contractors. Mr. Labi, if you've connected your line, yeah, you were making a point. Hello, Hammond K. Labi. Hello, Mr. Labi. Okay, let me bring in Joseph Houghton again. Mr. Houghton, so you made the point that more contractors or some contractors have more contract, whilst others do not. Why do you think this is the case?
Well, if I remember, I think the former Minister for Roads and Highways, and I'm not referring to Mr. Honorable Asante Subuachi because he came in just in 2024 or so. Yes, early 2024. So I'm referring to Mr. Kwaku. I think when he came in, right from the word go, some of the statements he made were to the effect that he was going to work with contractors who had money to finance projects. And so if you do not have money, what it meant was that you will not get any job to do, because I think the issue was that there was no money to pay for the jobs that would be done immediately. And so it's only those who have money who can be ready to more or less pre-finance these jobs that will be considered when it comes to awarding of contracts. Well, those were the early years. But then I think it got to a point where now he was awarding the contracts. Because if a particular contractor, I'm not going to mention any names, but if a contractor has more than 30 projects, some I hear even 40 projects, how do you expect that contractor to manage those projects? Especially when the cash flow is not predictable. So you realize that if you go around the country, you realize that a lot of projects have been abandoned. Some have been done up to a certain stage and left. Some work started and then they stopped, and a whole lot of them. This is poor contract management, because I know, because I've been in this industry for over 40 years, and I know that the Ministry of Roads and Highways itself had a policy that even A1 contractors should not be burdened with more than 3 projects. And those 3 projects should be within a certain radius, so they could move machines from one place to the other to work on these projects. So you go beyond the 3 projects, and now some are taking 30 projects, 40 projects. What do you expect? So the commitment, you realize, is with a few contractors. And these are huge sums of, these are huge projects. And so the contract sums are huge. So you hear 100 billion, but then you go down and realize that it's just a handful of contractors who are handling all these projects. You see, which for me is wrong, because in the first place, you're overburdening the contractor. And well, I don't even understand why my colleagues will even allow themselves to even go into this kind of situation where you are handling 30 projects. Some projects were awarded in 2020, and up to date, they haven't gone even 50% of the work. Okay,
Mr. Eaton, hold the line for me. Let me bring in Hammond Kelabi again. So, Mr. Hammond, what will you contractors do now that government says, I am uncertain as to exactly when I'll be paying these debts?
It's a problem. It's a new government. I know the government is a continuity. But what will happen is there's a need to reintroduce the road fund, the road tolls very quickly. And introducing the road tolls is not something that the government should be collecting some before they were collecting 10 pesos for motorbikes and things and 50 pesos and things. We gone past that. We can't be paying 10 pesos and 50 pesos, and I think motorbikes should be paying at least 1 cedi, and the saloon car should be paying 5 cedis. 4x4 and things should be paying, pickups and things should be paying around 10 cedis. You see, and the vehicles that are destroying our roads are the
trailers.
The trailers with so many houses. You see, they need to pay. They need to pay more at a toll. Aside from that, they also yearly they must be charged every household. They must be charged 100 cedis per household. So if you have 7 households, you have to pay 700 cedis per year. You see, these are some of the things that we make the government get the money to pay it. If you actually want good roads, to drive on good roads, you need to pay. It's everywhere. You need good roads, you have to pay. If somebody say, look, 5 cedis is just too much. Too much for someone can pay 5 cedis. It's never too much. 5 cedis someone can pay too much. It's never too much. Motorbikes should be paying 1 cedi. And I'm happy that the new government said they are introducing digital system into that, and that will make us have the maximum. And I think there should be a proper supervision over, though it's digital, there should be a proper supervision there, because there are people, the others who also probably they may not have the card, just like the Dakar or the South Africa system. So there probably be a one lane probably for those who don't have the card, the digital
All right.
system,
Okay.
the manual one.
Okay.
So with that, there must be a proper supervision. If we don't supervise it well, you see the money going into the people's pockets.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
But that's Hamon Kelabi, he's Vice President of Progressive Contractors. Let me bring in now Member of Parliament for Wale Wale, Kabiru Mahama. Kabiru, grateful for joining the conversation. We heard you on the floor of Parliament asking the Minister some questions, but why leave such a whopping debt in the road sector? How can this government then go around it?
If you may come again, please. I didn't get your question.
So I wanted to find out from you, I mean, why that huge debt left for this government, and how can government really go around this particular debt that they've inherited from you?
Well, so thank you very much. Government, first and foremost, is a continuum. Some debt was contracted by the previous government. This government successfully paid every debt, and if you listen to the Minister for Roads, he mentioned that all outstanding debts that were accumulated between the period and this was in government were all cleared. The 21 billion mentioned as outstanding obligations were contracted between 2017 and 2024. This is the minister's own statement. You don't expect that government would clear all debts in the road sector because every single day road contractors certificates, and these certificates are either uploaded into the road fund or they are put into GOG depending on the funding source for the respective road project. So you don't expect government to go out of power without outstanding certificates or arrears to be paid by the incoming government.
But the point the contractors are making is that you awarded contracts which you knew for sure that there were no secured sources of funding. Why?
That is not something new. When you award government on the back of GOG is funds that you expect to get from revenue, different revenue sources, right? So depending on how your revenue perform, it determines how you are going to pay the people. So it's not something new. It's not the first time government is awarding projects on the back of expected revenue that is not determinate. So if a contractor is saying that government awarded projects without revenue sources, then they're basically telling that the only time you award a project is when you have bilateral agreement on a certain route, i.e. Swallow Road, where a bank will be funding it. But that's not the only way. If we are going to rely on that, then nothing will happen in this country. But government should plan, and government do plan against expected revenue. If the revenue performs well, bingo, the government would pay all contractors. If the revenue doesn't perform well, then government will have to look at whether I defer some payment or I look at other alternative way of funding it, i.e. syndicated. So these are the ways government have been funding road projects. So I don't get, it's neither here or there for someone to suggest that the fact that government awarded projects on the back of expected revenue in the form of government revenue performing well is something out of the books.
Well, the point is, it is the reason there are so many projects that have not been completed. It is a reason there's a huge debt the government has to contend with. That's why there's that worry about giving contract when you know that the sources of funds have not really been secured.
First and foremost, the enormous nature of the tax, especially on the road sector, demanded that government needed to confront that head on. Government needed to take the most ambitious initiative of fixing the roads. And government has fixed several roads. The users of these roads don't care so much about how they are funded. They want their roads to be fixed. And government fixing them on debt is something that the government feels that let me reduce the burden of my citizens whilst I make plans, to fulfill the debt later. So contractors may complain, but for instance, a contractor also accepting to do a project would have also assessed the viability, the possible funding source of that particular project. All right, a contractor will never come and blame government to say that we give a project without funding sources. The contractor, a prudent and reasonable contractor, will not also do that. But if revenue is not performing, and we all know that revenue did not perform at a better point in time in our economic management history, especially on the back of COVID, where the economy was more grounded. You don't say government did something wrong. You don't blame government that arrears have been accumulated. Unless, of course, that government doesn't intend to do anything. Mind you, all this debt accumulation out of government books that we evaluated before we even went to the IMF program. Because of that, the president took a decision that I was not going to initiate any major project again in 2023, 2024. So this government has reflected on. It's not that the government went on even continuous award of unbridled award of contracts, even on the back of the fact that the government realized revenue was not doing well.
Help me. Are you saying that in the election year, your government didn't give any road contracts?
I'm saying that in the election year, government cut down. And if you listen to the president in the budget, the minister of responsible, they were focused on completing new projects. In 2024, there were some projects awarded, and I even asked a question on one of them. And they were not new projects per se, but probably it's a project that was awarded to a different contract, the contractor not performing, and they re-awarded them.
Okay.
I asked the minister question today, and he said that a certain project was awarded in August 2024. But I reminded him, no, this project was not awarded in 2024. As a matter of fact, it was awarded in 2018. But the contractor was not performing. It has to be terminated and awarded to a different project.
All right.
Contractor.
Okay. All right, Kabiru, I'm grateful to you. Dr. Kabiru Mahama is the MP for Wale Wale. You heard him there. Earlier, you heard us speak to Joseph Uting, who is the current chairman of the Interim Management Committee of the Association of Road Contractors. You also heard us speak to Hammond K. Labi. He is Vice President, Progressive Contractors. This has been Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel, connecting energies and Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Coming up next is Ghana Connect with Kwaku Asante.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana my dog with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Ghana Connect. After more than 8 years, John Dramani Mahama made a return to Parliament as president again. He was there in January of 2017 to present what was his last State of the Nation address of his first term. At the time, he did say that he expected posterity to judge him right. He went on to lose the next two elections, but is back in Parliament again to address MPs and the entirety of the country on what the true state of the nation is. John Dramani Mahama, variously cited, had said that the economy had been criminally and recklessly managed. He has been in office for more than 50 days. He's seen the books, he's seen the full details, and he had to present a report on what the state of our country was and is. He did say, right at the start of his speech, that he did not come to Parliament to lament. But the NPP side have said that all John Dramani Mahama did in Parliament when he presented that message on the state of the nation was indeed to lament and not offer anything concrete. John Dramani Mahama spoke about a wide array of issues, including corruption and others.
As part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, ORA, I've already tasked our investigative bodies to bring the culprits of the National Service Ghost Name scandal to justice. Such brazen theft of public funds must not go unpunished.
People to be declared wanted, their assets to be traced and frozen. He also talked about this.
We believe that this will open the way for an amicable resolution of the issues between Springfield and ENI. And this should make our oil and gas prospects more attractive to investments going forward.
This was in the oil and gas industry. But generally, where do you stand on the conversation? Did John Mahama go to Parliament to lament, or did he present the message on Ghana's true state as of yesterday, 27th February 2025? We connect on these matters right after this very, very, very short message.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302-764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website, www.kingdomgh.com.
Welcome back to Ghana Connect. My name is Kwaku Asante. And for those of you who are home, you are in your cars, going home, wherever you may be, you know Ghana Connect is about you. Please do send us a message, 055-1111-997, 055-1111-997. Please send me a WhatsApp message. I'm interested in getting to know what you make of the address of the president, John Dramani Mahama, who staged a very incredible comeback, winning with nearly 1.7 million votes. He did talk about that. I put together this report to actually capture the very essence of his address yesterday. Listen. More than 8 years ago, John Dramani Mahama stood in Parliament as President of the Republic to deliver his last message on the state of the nation. He lost the next 2 elections, and as fate will have it, 8 years down the line, he is back in Parliament delivering another message on the state of the nation as President of the Republic.
It has also been nearly a decade since I said goodbye to this House after delivering what many, including myself, thought at the time would be my final address to Parliament. God Almighty, Providence, and the unpredictability of life have summoned me here once again.
John Dramani Mahama says, despite the enormity of the economic challenges, he is not here in Parliament to lament.
Mr. Speaker, it's not my style to lament and shift blame when confronted with challenges. My approach is to accept challenges and work hard to resolve them. I have therefore not come here to lament on the state of our country, though there's much to lament about. I understand why I was elected with such high voter confidence, and that is to solve Ghana's problems.
John Dramani Mahama says, just like he pledged to the nation to fix the Dumsor crisis when he was president between 2013 and 2017, it is on the same vein that he promises this country that he will fix the current economic challenges.
Yesterday, February 26, 2025, marks exactly 10 years since I stood in this chamber at this very spot to declare my determination to fix Dumsor, a legacy problem of power shortages. And Mr. Speaker, I fixed it. Today, inspired by the Almighty God and propelled by the massive mandate given to me by the good people of Ghana, I am moved to make a similar purposeful and bold declaration that I, John Dramani Mahama, I will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on a path of growth and prosperity.
John Dramani Mahama continues to paint a gloomy picture of the economy.
We have inherited a country that is broken on many fronts. The profundities of the challenges confronting us are staggering. We are saddled with staggering debts and glaring signs of almost deliberate and, in some cases, reckless mismanagement of our resources. In addition to the public debt, which amounts to a staggering 721 billion cedis, several state-owned enterprises are also in debt, including the ECG, which owes 68 billion Ghana cedis.
It will be recalled that few days ago, John Dramani Mahama's government did announce they were paying fourth coupons for bondholders. NPP at the time claimed that it had left enough buffers to cater for these payments. John Dramani Mahama revealed what was actually left behind by the NPP.
There have been claims that buffers were left for debt repayment, oncoming debt repayment this year. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, let me give you the statement of account for the debt service reserve account, which is also popularly referred to as the sinking fund. This fund shows a balance of only $64,000 in the dollar account, $64,000 in the dollar account, and 143 million Ghana cedis in the CD account.
However, did John Mahama go to Parliament to lament, to complain, or to actually offer great ideas in terms of how he fixes these same problems that the NDC campaigned on that resulted in its very overwhelming victory? So, connecting on these important issues, Dr. Jerry Joe Harrison is the University of Ghana UTAC General Secretary. Doc, it's good to have you connect with us on Ghana Connect.
My pleasure to be here too.
Nana Kakari is Ghanaian journalist. She's a senior journalist based in the United States. And Nana Kakari is also connecting with us on Zoom. Nana.
Great to be here, Kwaku.
Great. And then in studio, I have Julius Kwame Anthony. He is with the communications arm of the presidency. Julius, it's good to have you connect with us.
Kwaku, it's a pleasure to be here.
So let me start with you. The NPP have said that John Mahama did go to Parliament to lament, to complain about the problems Ghanaians already know, and offered little to nothing in terms of real solutions to fix those everyday challenges. He talked about doomsaw and how he expected the situation to improve. But the ordinary Ghanaian whose light perhaps is off now or will go off at 8 or 9 p.m. and will have to sleep in darkness and in heat cares very little about that. He expects to see a concrete action and specific timelines leading to when you fix this. The NPP said they did not get that from the president's address.
Kwaku, let me start on the immediate and obvious one. There's the issue of the power rationing. I think the president did give clear outlines and actually filled the people of Ghana in as to what the circumstances that led to those cuts are. And I think that we have even acted earlier than the set deadline, which was supposed to be 2nd March or so. Today, it is my understanding that the pipeline, which has been interrupted, has been fixed. But away from that is the fact that elections and political discourse must be seen at all times to be a social contract with the people that are governed. President Mahama in his campaign was very emphatic that he would at all times be sincere and honest with the people of Ghana as to what the state of the country is. He has at all times insisted that he would insist on accountability even from himself, so long as governing this country is concerned. And I believe that the articles of our constitution that require the president to deliver the State of the Nation address were inserted for purposes of ensuring accountability at all times. When the MPP says lamentation, what do they mean? What does lamentation mean? It is one thing to account to the people of Ghana as to what the state of Ghana is, and it's another to lament.
You know, I don't like cutting you because you are flowing very nice. But John Mahama himself in his speech says, I'm not here to lament.
Yes.
He perhaps sees that.
Yes. So, quick, what is lament?
To talk about
what is lament?
As though to just complain about what everybody knows about. No, cry,
let's do this, Kwaku. Let's do this. Is it lamentation to state, as a matter of fact, that we have 720 billion debt as we speak today? Is it lamentation to say that despite meeting only $10 billion of debt at the energy sector, collecting over 40 billion, the MPP is leaving 70 billion in debt at the energy sector? Is it lamentation to say so? Is it lamentation to say that our SOEs, including Cocoa Board, are now struggling? These are facts. So for me, unless you and me can stipulate that the definition of lamentation is when a person lays before another facts as they exist, then I don't see what the lamentation is. Is that what lamentation is?
I guess the point you're making is that
when I
complaints about. So if you say state organizations are going under, what is your plan to get them back on track?
I think the president announced very bold and emphatic steps as to what he thinks carrying Ghana forward is about. He announced a $10 billion big push when he talked about our infrastructure deficit. He stated emphatically that Doomsaw would not be a thing under his administration. He stated emphatically that just as he promised the people of Ghana before that he was going to fix the power crisis and he fixed it, President John Dramani Mahama, is going to fix the economy as well. It is not a situation that the president went there and said, okay, I have given up, I'm packing out. And so again, Kwaku Asante and any other person who belongs to the school of thought that stating, fulfilling a constitutional requirement of letting the people of Ghana know, accounting to them, tagging them along about the realities of their circumstances, and laying the facts as they are before them is lamentation. Unless we can make that stipulation, because as far as I know, lamentation has to do with grieving, and all of those things. I did not see the president grieving. The president went there to tell the people of Ghana what economy he has been handed, what political atmosphere he has been handed, what he wants to do about solving the challenges that has been left to us. Unless we want to say that we should be governed in a situation where the people of Ghana do not know what it is that is going on, then we can say that the president making them know is lamentation. There is no way under the sun, Kwaku Asante, that President Mahama can begin his governance without actually letting people understand what the realities of the economic situation he has to deal with is. What then would be the yardstick for measuring whether or not he has succeeded in solving our problems or not? It is when we know the depth from which he is swimming that we can realize how far he has swum by the time he is done with his administration, and that's precisely what he did. So I don't see any lamentation here, unless, of course, we can agree on a new definition.
A definition for lamentation. Okay, good. Julius, it's a good place to start. But Nana Kakari, what sense did you get listening to the president yesterday vis-a-vis the complaints some NPP persons, and in fact, we did a Vox Pop in Kumasi. It was a mixed reaction. Some persons really felt the same way. And also what you've heard from Julius Anthony, who speaks for the presidency in part.
You know what? First of all, let me first say that the MPP, I don't think has any right to say anything as to how the NDC or President Mahama should govern or what he should do, especially in his first address to the nation. There's a reason the MPP is in a minority. That's because majority of Ghanaians did not think that they will be able, or they run the government effectively or efficiently, and that's why they were kicked to the minority side. So whatever comes out of the MPP caucus, to me, is really irrelevant. Now to the topic that we are discussing. President Mahama introduced the word lamentation to us in his speech. Whether we agree, whether we want to talk about the definition of lamentation or not, I really don't care. He mentioned that he did not mean to lament. And so I think that the minority seized on that word and ran with it. So if anybody should be blamed or anything, the president actually introduced lamentation. It's like a little child saying, I don't mean to be rude, yet they are being rude. And I think that's what we saw from the president's speech. Yes, there was some lamentation with President Mahama's speech. I did appreciate him being forthright and he being transparent and giving us a clear picture of what he inherited from the previous administration. But then also, you know what, I really did not really understand why he was talking more about the doomsaw that he fixed it. It's time for us to move forward. And so whether he fixed it when he was in power years back, we want to know if he's going to fix it. That was more waste. It gets to a point where we want to move forward instead of talking about the past. It became at a point like a campaign talk to me when he started talking, I will, when I really wanted to hear what I'm doing. Now, I must say that it's the first address. I'm not expecting him to say, we've done this, we've done that, we've done this, we've done that. But I was expecting him to dive a little bit deeper into what he's going to do to fix the economy. Yes, he did mention the economy. He did mention some of the policies that he plans on implementing to fix the economy, to fight corruption, what have you. But I wanted to hear more. And so I think that when he kept talking about, okay, and I inherited this, I inherited that, I think everybody, including Stevie Wonder, can see that the country, Ghana, was in chaos. Ghana was facing economic challenges. Ghana is facing corruption. And so we all know that. I think what Ghanaians want to know right now is no more campaign for Mahama. He's now in office. It's now time for him to do instead of to talk.
Dr. Jerry Joe, I mean, you are in labor. I mean, a brief part of that camp came up. You also have a very astute researcher, chemistry prof. I mean, you've also followed very keenly some of this address and the commentary that have come up. I wonder where you stand in this Lamentation saga.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to all our listeners. I don't think the question of whether President Mahama was lamenting or not is really material. The question is, even if he was lamenting, did he have the right to lament? I am very positive that when Ghanaians were voting, they knew exactly what was wrong with the system. And they knew that they wanted somebody who could help solve, those problems. But you see, when you are in opposition, you will never know fully the scale of things. I mean, as Ghanaians, in as much as we think we know what's going on and all that, it's very difficult because figures are manipulated, data is not presented accurately, and I mean, statistics are presented in a way that favors whoever is presenting. And so when you eventually get into the seat and you recognize the extent of the problem, you have every right to lament, to be very honest with you. I don't think that there's anything wrong with lamenting the state of the Ghanaian economy. I mean, if you have all these debt restructuring that have taken place, the maturing coupons, where do you find money to pay all these, right? I think that it is part of that appeal that organized labor, sort of bought into that. Look, we all recognize the difficulties that this economy is going through, and therefore, in as much as it is very, very, very low, we want to help the system to rebuild so that we can all benefit from the fruits, thereof. And so I do not think we should be worried about whether the president was lamenting or not, because at the end of the day, what are the solutions? Did he proffer some solutions to the issues that are confronting us today? And the answer is yes. We currently are having the National Education Forum discussing ways of improving the very poor standard of education that we currently have. The free SHS has become sort of an albatross on government expenditure. We need to find a way of funding that and making sure that those who truly cannot afford, have the right and access to quality education. We want to make sure that educational infrastructure are completely overhauled. And if you look at the capacity of many senior high schools, they have been overstretched, and if care is not taken, they are going to break down. So these are real challenges. But I think that Ghanaians are smart people, and they wanted an experienced hand, somebody who has been there before, somebody who knows what he's about, and that is why they voted for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama the way they did. So, to be very honest, if I were him, I probably would lament it the same way, because it becomes frustrating when you look at the scale from within than when you look at it from without. So I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with lamenting, especially when you're confronted with the real figures that we didn't know before.
Yeah. Nana Kakari, listening to the president, did you get a sense that he had the situation under control and that he had a plan to deal with them? Because ultimately, this conversation about lamentation is because the MPP believe they did not hear enough in terms of solutions. Of course, that is why he got the overwhelming majority he did in the presidential election, and the NDC got what they got in parliament, currently 187 majority. Did you get a sense that you had enough from him as someone who has a control of the situation with a team that can fix this?
You know what? I think it's too early to say whether he has control of the situation or not. And to be frank with you, I don't think he has control of the situation. Based on his speech, it seems like he wasn't expecting. We knew that there were challenges. I don't think he understood or knew the magnitude of these challenges, right? Especially when he talks about inflation target for 2024, 18%, and it has skyrocketed to 24% and what have you. So I think that he knew there were challenges, but he didn't know it was he wasn't expecting it to be as bad as it is. So definitely he doesn't have control over it at this moment. Mind you, he just took office a month ago, right? So he's not a magician that we're going to expect him, or his God we're going to expect him to fix everything. Now, what I did appreciate is he emphasized on the fact that he is going to fix the economy. He did not waver on that. He said that on the campaign trail, and he kept, although he laid out all these challenges that he's being faced with, he still assured Ghanaians that he is going to fix the problem and reset Ghana to the right path. And so that was encouraging for me as a Ghanaian, saying that, okay, you know what? He has not given up. He laid out the challenges, but he also wanted us to know that it can be fixed, and he is going to fix it. So I think that, that was a good thing. Another thing too that is worth noting is he also did lay out a few solutions. I just wish that he had dived a little bit deeper. For instance, the galamsey, which was a big part of a concern in the 2024 campaign, he actually mentioned that he is going to find alternative jobs for these people that are involved in the illegal mining. That was good. Another thing too that I was very happy he did mention was implementing policies that will support the agricultural sector, making sure that the farmers or workers in the agricultural industry have the support that they need. So basically supporting local production and then limiting imports and increasing exports, which I think will be a great way to also, help fix the economy, which was a big topic or a big issue that he ran on, and a big issue that I think that Ghanaians brought him back to power to fix. So overall, I think it was good. And like the previous speaker said, he was lamenting. Yeah, he was lamenting. I don't think anybody here should defend that he wasn't lamenting, or well, he was lamenting. Let's face the fact. But then he's justified lamenting. I think that moving forward, enough of whatever lamenting. The first address you lament, the second time we want to see you get back to work and get to business.
Julius, Nana Kakari says at the outset that she did not get a sense that the president was really on top of the brief. Not necessarily that he wasn't well informed, but that she didn't hear a lot in terms of the big solutions to fix some of this. Of course, then she admits that This is a president that has just come in, 50 days in office, still trying to steady everything and then be on top of it. Solutions. That's what people are asking for.
On solutions, I think that she went in circle and even stated that some of the solutions the president proposed. I think if you listen to her well, she mentioned that the president proposed some solutions to our agricultural problems, that he would extend support to our farmers through the agriculture for development projects. The president also mentioned that there is an urgent need for us to deal with our over 90% import of poultry products by supporting our local people. I think that if you listened to our campaign, the New Patriotic Party sought to ridicule some of those propositions that President Mahama made to deal with problems which are really tangible. You are a country that is heavily, import dependent, and making mockery of policies that are actually supposed to deal with some of those problems. The president made emphatic statements on those. The president, when he spoke about our infrastructure deficit, immediately made an emphatic proposition of a $10 billion big push to deal with the infrastructure deficit that we have. The president made mention of some of the challenges we still have in our educational sector, the implementation of free SHS and how it failed to be linked up to the development of local economies, and said that he's going to decentralize the implementation of that program to ensure that the headmasters of various schools procure food for our children, dealing with the quality problem as well as boosting the local economies of the areas that have schools in them. The president also said he would deal with schools under trees. He says that he will deal with the situation we have where we have urban areas having a lot of teachers, some even exceeding the numbers that are required. Then we have very rural areas with no teachers at all, by implementing a 20% increase in salaries for teachers who would agree to rural areas. The president was very emphatic in outlining several solutions to the economic challenges we face. And one thing that is really stark, something that is really clear, is the president's emphatic declaration that he, John Dramani Mahama, is not going to hand over this economy broken, that he's going to fix it. So I don't know what anyone would want to hear from the president again in terms of the solutions he's proposing and his commitment to fix the economic problems. Away from all of this is the whole attempt. I mean, I see this whole debate around whether lamentation or not lamentation, or whether proffering solutions and all of those things to be, extra, or to be issues that should be eschewed. Why? The reason is simple. What was the president's duty before Parliament in the first place? If we get to that fundamental, what his duty is, what did the Constitution require of the president? The Constitution requires of the president to come and tell the people of Ghana the truth. What of the state of the nation, what the president told the people of Ghana, is it the truth? I think that the discourse that is very relevant at this moment is a question of whether or not he told the truth. And I am yet to hear, either on this platform or any other, anyone who has made any proposition in any shape or form to suggest that the president lied. Nobody has been able to make that claim. Nobody has been able to impugn the figures the president has put out there on the issue of debt, on the issue of unemployment, on issues of our energy sector crisis, all of that. Nobody has been able to impugn that. And so my question again, as I started, is whether or not telling the people of Ghana the truth as is required of a president by the Constitution, is what you term lamentation. If that is it, then we could as well amend the Constitution and say that the president is required at every start of a session to lament to the people, if telling the people the truth is now lamentation. So I do not think any of those things qualify as lamentation as we want to put it. I do not think that the president failed to state solutions. He did. If you are minded to see them, you would. I do not think also that the president lacks the commitment, as others will want us to believe, to solve these problems. And I am very confident in the ability of this president to deal with the issues. Anytime President John Dramani Mahama makes emphatic statements that he is going to pursue a particular action, he gets it done. And that is why we follow him.
Okay, I guess some would say at what cost, because MPP have said, for instance, that when the president said he will fix Doomso at all costs, and I think the former president, Kufuor, did give him the credit and said he deserves he deserves no credit for fixing Doomso. So acknowledgement that you had fixed it.
He did fix
but
it.
The argument was that, well, you fixed it by what cost? By bringing on excess capacity, blah blah. But I think there
was no such thing.
I think the debate, the debate has been had excess capacity. Okay, good. We have been joined in studio by Karen Esifolansa. She's a private legal practitioner. And Karen, perspectives on these issues to bear. Karen, you listen to the president also. I mean, for instance, I heard him mention legal education. We're going to present a legal reform bill, and that's all. He just moved on. He didn't offer details. But legal education is such a big issue. For instance, when they brought the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General before Parliament Committee, and none of them have been asked about legal education. I've been wondering, what is going on? But you've also listened to the president generally. You get a sense. Do you get a sense that he and his party, given the majority that they've gotten and the kind of victory they've had, that they are really going to be able to deliver on all the promises they make and then ultimately lead the country? Of course, all of us do admit that we are in a very broken state now.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say that the president's posturing during the speech has been that of one that exudes hope. I think the speaker before stated that it's just been 50 days. I don't know if it's lack of trust generally, but I think we are all jumping the gun. The lack of trust for politicians has, overwhelmed many of us, so it's understandable why some people are impatient. But if you take a look at the president's posturing, the way his demeanor was, it's clear that he's aiming to leave a very good legacy. And so he even promised that the first 120 days we can judge him on it. So I feel, first of all, that we should have some patience for it. The people keep saying that he keeps lamenting, but my point, or how I view that, is that we should see that we have a president who exudes his human nature, and that's not something that I think is bad. We are used to having presidents that seem a bit too detached from our reality, but here's President Mahama, who is clearly trying to tell us what the actual state of affairs is, and the Constitution mandates him under Article 67. So I don't think that he did anything wrong. Not to belabor the points, but like Julius said, no group of people have been able to discount any of the figures. I've seen some news outlets churning out some fact-checking, and even that, there's no one to say that these figures are wrong. So I think we should just give it some time. Another thing I'd like to say is that the president was in power before he was booted out and brought back. I think the overwhelming majority he got is proof that Ghanaians believe that he has something to offer, and he has done it before. Because if you check the energy sector, for instance, the debt currently stands at 70 billion per the State of the Nation's address. But the ESLA collected a chunk of money to take care of the...
I think over 40 billion.
Yes, exactly. And this was a man who, because he didn't want to be bedeviled by that tag that Mahama is the Doomsday King or whatever, he tried to rectify it. And he leaves the country for a few years, and then he's plagued with this debt of 70 billion Ghana cedis. And now, within the first 50 days, everyone is clutching at straws. I really think that we need to give him
some time.
Yes, please.
Well, yes, I guess when people are in the heat, they really think that this must be fixed. But I'll come to you, Julius. Dr. Harrison, do you hear Karen talk about the fact that let's give him some more time? Do you think that Ghanaians have that patience, given what we've seen with governance and leadership? Is that the same sense you get, that it's because of the deep mistrust in the political class? That is why a section of the public just can't wait and they expect things to be fixed right away, instead of we will fix it, we are working around it.
Well, I mean, the truth remains that after what Ghanaians have witnessed 8 years under Nana Akufo-Addo, I think that the days where Ghanaians became sort of nonchalant, trusting politicians to always do the right thing is actually gone, and that people are going to open their eyes and ears and would definitely hold political officers to account. It is rather unfortunate that it has to start with Mr. Mahama, but I think that everything you are seeing is some kind of a revolution in terms of the awareness and the advocacy by Ghanaians in terms of ensuring that the political class doesn't take the people for granted. But I also believe that those who are saying that the President's State of the Nation didn't profile solutions maybe haven't read the document that he read, or haven't listened to the document that or the State of the Nation that he delivered. I think that it is fair to give the president credit. He was elected on a certain manifesto, and as far as I am concerned, he did bring all those key issues to bear on educational reforms, how to fix, the economy. In fact, the major issue really with everybody is how the economy is going to be fixed, because we are talking about so much debt in the energy sector, education sector. It's all about the economy, and people are seeing, food inflation skyrocketing. I mean, we are worried that with all the arable lands that we have, we still cannot produce food for ourselves. And I think that the president did provide some of the things that he's going to do in the agriculture sector, some of the things he's going to do for women empowerment, and all that. And so I rather think that maybe those who are criticizing didn't listen to the president, and if they didn't listen, they haven't taken the time to read the document that was put out. I've read every single line in there, and I know that it is very much in line with the NDC manifesto. The economic dialogue that's going to be held, in March, first week in March, is a promise, and the impulse of that is to find solutions to the daunting economic challenges that we are facing. And so I think that yes, the people are very impatient with the political class, because Nana Akufo-Addo had a lot of goodwill from Ghanaians, to the extent that people gave him the benefit of the doubt. But eventually, what the economy has become of today really is a wake-up for all Ghanaians to sort of put their partisanship aside and be constructive, critiques of political power. And I believe that the president is going to see it in that light.
Right.
That whatever people are saying really is for him to be aware that people are watching and they are going to demand answers as quickly as possible.
I want to come back to you, Julius, in studio. The president, one thing he touched on while he addressing was his commitment to cutting public expenditure. And that's why he says he has appointed 60 ministers. He expects that in the future, successive governments will commit to even do less, because he believes that can be done. They also said that the president is giving with right hand and taking with the left. So we've seen a certain phenomenon, a certain angle of presidential staffers for Black Stars experience. Presidential staffer sent to say the Western Region Coordinating Council. Someone said these are glorified deputy ministers, and that John Mahama is simply playing the public, saying I'm cutting expenditure, I'm not appointing 85 or 90 ministers, but it's making what some of them consider really spurious appointments. What, for instance, at all, is a minister of a presidential staff in terms of Black Star experience that the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts with a deputy cannot do?
Well, the first point I must emphasize is that when we said that we are committed to reducing the size of government, we meant it. And so, as all Ghanaians can see, the president has fulfilled his promise to make sure that he does not appoint, beyond 60 ministers. The second point is that when we said that we were going to ensure that presidential staffers are less than the numbers appointed by President Akufo-Addo, and such unprecedented numbers do not ever happen again, we meant it. When we accused President Akufo-Addo of appointing over 1,000 people, 900 and something people and all of that, we produced the list of the people and showed to the people of Ghana that this is excessive. As we speak today, Bismarck Kwaku Asante, how many presidential staffers has President Mahama appointed?
Yeah, but he mentioned yesterday that now that they've inaugurated the Council of State,
yes,
that is when now they are going to appoint more. So we don't know. Perhaps it's going to go above Akufo-Addo.
So you are speculating that...
I'm not speculating, but now we've had presidential staffer in charge of Black Star experience.
Kwaku, please,
what is that?
Please, what was the commitment? The commitment is to ensure that we cut down the cost of running our government by yes. As of today, Kwaku Asante, do you have any list of presidential staffers where you can be able to show me or any Ghanaian that it exceeds the numbers we were criticizing? There is no such thing. Then to the issue of Black Star experience and all of that, it is a headline policy, to increase tourism, to actually ensure that we have more people coming to Ghana and all of that. And one of the differences between our Black Star experience proposition and what we saw, because I saw the New Patriotic Party
Year
to
of
suggest
return
that
and all that.
it is a rebranding of it and all of that, is that if you observe, the Ghanaian economy was not able to make the full benefits of the influx of people into this country. Because if you take most of the programs we were running during Year of Return, Afrofuture, all of these things that we were doing, who were in charge of ticketing, our hospitality side of things, airlines, all of that. If you look at all those things that are linked to tourism, who reaped the most benefit of those, initiatives that we undertook? Was it the Ghanaian economy, or we only hosted events that generated revenues for other economies? And so the difference between what we want to do and what the New Patriotic Party did is to ensure that the very activities that will be undertaken will be linked to tangible economic development for our own people, that our people are at the direct benefiting end of every activity that is carried out. And that is why we need proper coordination of those activities across sectors. So that is a justification for that appointment. For me, I'm of the school of thought that sometimes the way and manner in which, or the nomenclature we give things, creates room for some unnecessary criticism and backlash, which can easily be avoided. If that is the problem, I am willing to concede to such. But as to the relevance of the office or that has been created, or the relevance of having a person coordinating this activity, it is linked to the points I earlier made, that these activities that we have undertaken in the past have not reaped the full benefit to our own people. And we must make sure that what we do in the future does that. And that is why we need someone in charge of doing those. So please, Kwaku, to wrap up on the issue of whether or not President Mahama is committed to a limited government, the facts are clear for all to see. On the issue of presidential staffers, all those who make those accusations, including yourself, Kwaku Asante, have no evidence to the effect that President Mahama has appointed presidential staffer to exceed the numbers that we were against. So please, you should hurry slowly.
Yeah.
The Council of State is now in full force. The president would appoint his full staffers. The list will be submitted to Parliament. I promise I would be here myself.
Okay. Julius, I want you to look through the list and make few comparisons. And answer this question for me in a minute, so that I'll come to Karen on what the youth might have gotten from this. Are there propositions for jobs and all that?
Yeah.
But there is something that John Mahama himself promised.
Yeah.
30% women in his cabinet. He has appointed a cabinet, his women, 19 cabinet ministers, only 2 are women. That is 10.5%. That is a failure, and it is in his 120-day social contract. So you in the government now concede that John Mahama made that promise, obviously knowing that the human resource at the disposal, and still failed on that.
Well, at the risk of being proven wrong, it's an extreme risk, but he says 120 days. The 120 days is over. I don't have the prerogative of appointing for the president. But then in governance, what we can do is at times concede to certain realities. I think that we don't have
That's why Afenyo Makin says concede to the reality that you can't actually do 60.
No,
so apologize to Ghanaians and do more.
No,
so that you can appoint women there to balance it.
Afenyo Makin and the MPP are just obsessed with an elephant-sized government.
No, but the MPP promised 50. Bamia promised 50.
Oh, please. The party that promised you 50 was in Parliament telling you that it is impossible to do 60. And we have in the past told the people of Ghana that they should be careful of the New Patriotic Party and their allying leaders. I mean, we've been proven right by that. But we, on the other hand, are insisting that we can do 60, and we are doing it. It is just a matter of cabinet. There is the issue of the total size, even, of the government.
That one, the appointment, the president said he has done 23 or 24%. That is still not 30 in the affirmative action.
He's not finished. He's not finished the appointments.
Okay.
He is committed to ensuring that he meets the threshold in the Affirmative Action Act, and he's going to do that. But on the issue of cabinet, as I said, we can only make such concessions. It is, the 120 days are not over yet, but one would risk, being proven to have stated falsehood if I say that within 120 days, the president is going to make any reshuffles. I don't want to make those claims. I do not have the prerogative. So we can concede to those. But on the generality of the size of this government, we are going to make sure that we meet the requirements of the affirmative actions bill, and we are going to make sure that we deliver on a lean size as the president has promised.
Karen, youth and job creation. Did you find it contradictory? Now, John Mahama was talking about creating jobs, And this is the same government that has just revoked the appointment of so many young Ghanaians who were employed.
It would have been fair if you asked me that.
I'll come to you on that. I want to hear you. I want to hear Dr. Harrison too on that, and then Nana Kakari, then I'll come back to you on that. But jobs, did you hear enough from the president that the young people of this country, and it's becoming a national security ticking time bomb, are getting enough or something from the government?
My issue with this is that we are not addressing the problem head on. That's to say that whenever we criticize a certain group of people in the past, it seemed as if we were coming at them. But these precedents you set in the beginning, they have lasting effects. So you don't revoke appointments from a previous government and then later cry foul when it's done. You see, look at the thing wholesomely and see it for what it really is. The last minute recruitments that were done, it has crippling implications on our economy. For instance, the news making rounds the whole of last week was the one at NEIP, where there was no provisions made for them with controller. So these things have, rippling effects. So when we are criticizing, you are setting bad precedents, So what I would say is that the president appointed competent leaders. We should trust in his ability to do, in his judgment exactly. He has put these people in charge. They, in consultation with other seasoned politicians, are making the best decision for the country because he has, like I said, his legacy is important to him now. He's trying to leave that legacy to say that he's resetting the country. So if it takes a temporary, revocation, setback, so that we can have a good future generally I think the youth will be, and generally there's a feeling of hope in the air, especially for us, the young people, because we know that he has said that he's going to reset the country. And even if not, thankfully free speech is back. Now we are allowed to voice out our
free
opinion.
Speech left.
Oh yes, it did leave, please.
Okay, so when they say free speech left, but this week have been at a bat of means. So for those of you who follow me on X, I was at a bat of fiery insults and criticism from a section of the public.
You were almost sacked from Parliament.
Well,
for
it's okay.
referring to somebody.
I'll come to that. But Dr. Jerry Joe, Dr. Harrison,
even you yourself,
where do you see do you see the contradictory that some may point out? And Papani is joining me in studio with messages. And if Dr. Harrison can make that point briefly for me, this point about sacking people and saying that we were employed without financial resources made available for them to be paid and all that, and now you are preaching that there will be jobs. There are those who say this, and this is contradictory.
Well, my brother, thank you very much. And I do empathize with those who had to lose their jobs because of the revocation of the appointment. I think that this is really a wake-up call for us to legislate on some of the things that can be done and cannot be done. My brother, let's be realistic with ourselves. If you were in power for 8 years and you had any intentions of employing people, why wait until after the election when you know you have lost before you give people appointment letters? Yes, appointment processes are sometimes take long, and I'm hoping that when a proper audit is done, those who went through the process will be reinstated. But if we don't legislate to ensure that people, outgoing governments, can do certain things and not do certain things, what will happen is that the next time somebody loses an election, he will employ another 5 million people into the workforce. Where do you get the money to pay them? You understand? So, again, I think that it is quite unfortunate that if the economy could support, there's absolutely no reason why people should be laid off. But I think that the capricious means by which some of these employments were handed out, and the fact that people paid monies, these are stories that you hear, people actually paid monies to get into these jobs, is really saddening. So you can just imagine the young person who doesn't have money having to pay to be given a job, and then eventually getting laid off. So I think that if these things are true to any extent, then we must put proper legislation in place to ensure that somebody who is just being wicked does not overburden the another government when they lose elections, just so that they create that kind of unpopular situation for them. Don't forget that in 2009, President Kufuor did the same thing. When on the night before he left, he signed the single spine salary structure, into being, and workers intervened and said, "No, President Mills, take your time and implement." I don't think that these are really right. I don't understand the rationale, behind some of these things, and that is why I think that, based on the experiences that we've had, in the past, it's probably time for us to legislate. I know that in the Transitions Act, there are certain contracts and certain activities that the outgoing government cannot do. But I think that, given the magnitude of the problems that we currently have, we may have to also put some of those things into legislation to streamline what can be done and what cannot be done, so that we don't revisit the situation that we are currently dealing with.
Right. Michael Papani actually joining me in studio. Michael, what are people talking about on social media?
Very heated one here, but I'll try to walk you through some of the messages. Let's start from the Volta region, where Samado Michael says that when Mr. President lamenting or didn't lament, he's just hitting the key point and the truth. If you're not on the field, you just open your mouth and say everything. We should put ourselves together and work physically and spiritually with the president. Now, still in the Volta region, though, this one says that God bless JM. Who advised the MPP on their choice of outfit? Were they mourning the state of the nation? Well, that is from Kutuka Courage in Anloga, Lashibi. And then Kofi Botiano says that for the first time in the 80s, we didn't hear about COVID or the Russia-Ukraine war. 10 over 10 for plus extra marks for clarity of thought and proof of prerequisite knowledge of the entire content. So that's come from Kofi Botiano. That this one here that says that JM said it the way it is. We can't deceive the people of Ghana at all. The previous government destroyed this country. It must be told before suggesting solutions. They don't understand lamentation, just like they thought review means cancellation. And this one says the president told us the economic crisis that we find ourselves in as a nation and gave us the assurance of fixing the mess. Richard again from Botiano as well. Let me just say that because I get a lot of messages from Botiano. Good evening to all those in Botiano listening to us. But Kwaku, a final one here from me. It says that when people who were employed in 2017 by NDC government before leaving office, didn't MPP sack them? What is good for the goose is good for the gander. And this is coming from Francis Bismarck. We also know that the TUC, the likes, have been investigating this. They've written a statement. And their point is that MPP has done it before, NDC doing it. Shouldn't really raise an eyebrow. But two wrongs in their eye doesn't make it right, because they think some people who legitimately got their employment way before even 4 months to the election were still also affected. Some people have been on the payroll or been working for government as contract workers for 5 years, only regularized around that same time, shouldn't have been affected. But that's it for social media.
Messages that we are getting there. I don't know why people calling me Bismarck. I heard Julius call me Kwaku Asante Bismarck. Your mic is off, by the way. You can't say anything. So I'll come to Julius and give him the last word on this. But I want to hear from Nana Kakari on this point. And if you can do that for me in a minute or two, looking forward and giving all that we've heard from the president, you see hope that he can really deal with the challenges of this country.
I like to think there is hope. I mean, the 120 days honeymoon will soon be over, and we will be able to be in a good position to judge his work. Now, quickly on the downsizing of government and maintaining not more than 60 ministers, I think here in the United States is also going over. I have friends who work at the federal government who have lost their jobs. But I think that what we need to focus on is that if losing your job is going to cut costs and eventually create more jobs for all of us and for the betterment of the country, why not? I'm on board. So let's see how things transpire in the coming days and months.
Julius, you wanted to say something about this.
You know, Kwaku, young people losing jobs is a very unfortunate thing. And for me, I empathize with anyone who has suffered a job loss. It doesn't matter whether you are MPP or NDC. It's a most unfortunate thing to have happened sometime in 2017. Is the most unfortunate thing if it happens now. But one fact must be clear. What was the directive from the Chief of Staff? The directive from the Chief of Staff concerned employments which were rashly done after December 7th. we all know that in this country, employing people to the public sector follows clear procedures, and it would beat my imagination that one can tell me that those procedures were followed after Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia and the MPP lost the December 7th election. We should not allow this culture where a political party fails for several years to deal with the fundamental problems that would have created jobs for young people, so that those jobs will be equitably distributed. Only for that party, when the people have passed a verdict that they are a failure and they must leave government, to turn around and then pack the places with bad faith with members of their political party, and expects that the next government should start on a hard mode with a public wage bill that is beyond its ability to carry. I don't think that it is a thing that should be countenanced. And so while I empathize with young people, because it is not an easy thing to be without jobs in the kind of economy that has been left or bequeathed to us, I also think that rules and regulations must be followed. Good faith must be demonstrated in governance, and the New Patriotic Party failed to demonstrate that good faith during the transition, and that is the consequences of it that we are seeing.
Right, and this is how we wrap up on Ghana Connect tonight. Dr. Jerry Joe Harrison, University of Ghana, UTAG Secretary. Thank you very much, Doc, for making the time and coming on Ghana Connect to share with us your perspective. I've listened to you on some other media outlets. I think that you make a really good point, and so it was good having you on Ghana Connect. And Nana Kakari is a senior producer and journalist. She's based in the US, and she also connected with us on Ghana Connect. And you also heard Julius Kwame Anthony. He is with Presidency Communication, and he has also connected with us in studio and made his point. And then Karen Esifolansa, you are going to hear her on this show for some time, because we had an agreement for her to come on a couple of times. I don't even know how she ended up on the panel today, by the way. But yes, that has been our show tonight. My name is Kwaku Asante. Thanks to the production team, Papani and Collins. We'll see you again, same time next week for another exciting edition. For those of you who follow on TV, you know when to catch us again for Ghana Connect. And then Newsfile is on Joy News between 9 a.m. and 12 noon. Andy Dosty is up next with the library. You don't have to miss, and you can't miss.
As part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, ORA,